Alright, I'm going to try to get this slide posted a little bit sooner for you guys so you can have access to it. Um, this section, this unit, we're going to look at intro to resume writing and job applications. Fill them out. Pretty simple, straightforward. Not so simple, but very straightforward. They're critical tools. They are used by everybody in the hiring process. I doubt you're going to ever find a company that will hire anybody without at least filling out an application. Legally, it covers them from certain things, so it's got to happen. Resume, it's a summary of an individual's professional background, skills, and accomplishments. It is a way for you to put yourself, all of your information, everything great about you on paper to give somebody. Even if a job does not require a resume, I highly recommend you use a resume. You give them a resume when possible. Job application, it is a formal document expressing interest in an open position. A lot of questions on them, a lot of things to fill out on a job application. Like I said, I believe it's going to be legally required from a lot of places for you to fill one out. Different types of resumes. You have a chronological, where it lists all of your experience in order. You've got a functional resume focusing on specific skills or experience rather than a work history. A combination, blend of a little bit of both. And then a targeted, that would be customized for a specific job. If I were to apply for a job as a principal within Brown City, I would probably go with a targeted or a functional resume. Chronological doesn't really matter to Mr. Kohler, whoever will be doing the hiring. What I did before I became a teacher here in Brown City, maybe not. If it applies to certain things, then yeah, but that would now make it a functional thing. And it would be specifically targeted to Brown City Community Schools. So when you make one, I'd make multiple, and I would keep them up to date regularly. Even if you have jobs, whatever, you still keep your resume up to date because you never know. But choose a format that best highlights your strengths and for the job that you're specifically applying for. I spent a lot of years as a personal trainer, so technically I owned my own business. I was contracted out by a lot of gyms. It doesn't always read the best on a resume. And if it's a perfect chronological, it can look like gaps in employment. So I don't always go with a chronological for myself. Key components, parts of a resume, you can have a header. It's going to be your full name and your contact details. Everything about yourself, how to get a hold of you, email, phone number. Make sure your email is professional. I've done hiring at different places before where some of the emails that we would get from people were just incredibly unprofessional. Don't put something stupid like your name, 420 or whatever dumb thing people can come up with. Make it professional. My personal email outside of school is my name, Brad Sharp. And then I had to add something because somebody somewhere is named Brad Sharp already using it. So it's Brad Sharp and then my birthday. Professional, easy for me to remember, hopefully easy for somebody else to remember and to use. You're going to have an objective, a quick summary, brief career goals. Sometimes you'll include this in a cover letter, but what are you trying to do? Work experience, you always want to include the job title, the company, dates, and some key achievements while you're with that company. Dates may just be the month. You don't necessarily need to put that I was hired on January 13th of 2020 and worked there until May 12th of 2024. No, I would just put January 2020 to May of 2024. Job title. I don't want to say be creative, but don't be basic. If I'm going to use a resume, instead of just putting down that I am a teacher, instead of being a teacher, I'm an educator. Sounds a little more professional, even though it's the same job. And of course, company, they'll typically want some sort of contact for the company, things like that. Education, the institution, whether it's Brown City High School, if you decide to go to college, it could be the community college, it could be the university, wherever you earned your degree or certification from. I know a lot of you are looking at certification type schools after college or after high school, which is awesome. But list those. List the school that you did your learning from. Then skills, hard and soft skills. We kind of talked about this. They want to know certain things. Myself with a resume, I've got a lot of experience in leadership, leading people, Marine Corps, war, combat, things like that. Skills that kind of set me apart from everybody else. Anybody can say, I learned this hard skill. I learned, I am an expert at Microsoft Office. But a company can hire somebody and train them to be an expert at Microsoft Office. You can't very easily hire somebody and teach them to be an excellent leader. That takes time. That takes some natural abilities too. You can't teach somebody empathy. You can't teach somebody a work ethic. Those are skills that you might have that you want to accentuate, you want to show off. But if you don't put them on the resume, nobody knows. Any additional sections, certifications, with my resume, I would list all the different teaching certifications I have, different achievements I've made since becoming a teacher. A lot of times I want to see things like volunteer service. While the volunteer service may not be specific to what you're doing right now or the job you're applying for, it does show the type of person that you are. And if a company's trying to decide between two employees and both very qualified, you're both right there with each other, and hey, here's this guy that always volunteers and does all these things for his community, that's who's getting the job. Job descriptions, you want to learn how to write them effectively. Use strong action verbs. So I managed this program. If I were to talk about my job right now, I would definitely speak on my classroom management skills instead of saying I can control a class. No, it's classroom management. This online class, it's a new class. I'm doing it, figuring it out, writing the class, doing everything as we go sometimes. So instead of just saying I started a class, no, I'm developing a life management course for high school students to learn the basics of what they might need throughout their life. Sounds a lot better. It's not lying. It's not exaggerating. It's the truth. It is very accurate, but it looks a lot better. Quantify accomplishments. Give us numbers. I was given an award in Iraq for maintenance of certain gear, and through a war zone, we didn't lose any equipment. Everything was accounted for when we were done. I could just put that down on paper, and it doesn't really sound all that great. But I can tell people that I developed and managed a maintenance management program to oversee the not just development, but the maintenance of, it was a little over $3.5 million worth of gear with a $0 loss in a combat zone. So they see the numbers, they see the specifics, and if I take a little time, I can probably write it better than what just comes off the top of my head. Tailor your descriptions to reflect relevant skills and achievements. If I am going to be teaching science at a school and I want to apply for a job there, I want my resume and my job description to evolve around teaching science to that age kid. Other skills might be adaptable to that, and if I can put that in appropriately, good. But if I am planning to teach science and my job descriptions have everything to do with maintenance I did on a building, Well, it might be great experience. I might be able to use it in some ways towards what I'm doing. Are they going to care very much if I know how to fix a faucet? It has nothing to do with what we're trying to do. Some mistakes, typos, and grammatical errors. This is one that some of you are, just being blunt, you are horrible about. I know most of you are intelligent, but some of the stuff you turn in, even though you did it on a computer that corrects that stuff for you most of the time, still typos and grammatical errors all over the place. Ask for help. Especially now, if you're in high school and you're looking for a job, why haven't you asked me for help? Let me help you make a resume. Let me help you get this stuff ready. I want all of you to be successful. I know I've talked to some of you, and I've helped students in the past. Like, hey, you're trying to get into a college. If you need to write a letter to get accepted, if you need to apply for scholarships, it's all stuff I've done. Well, we've got, I know Mrs. Hayward is amazing at this stuff. Mrs. Franklin loves to help out. I'm here to help too. If you're not comfortable going to one of them, come to me. Let's help each other out. Look for these types of mistakes. It's going to make you look professional and better in the long run. Irrelevant, outdated information. You got to do the best you can with what you have. A lot of, in the Marine Corps, initially, I went to school to set up computer networks in a combat zone. Sounds a little interesting, a little different, but it's basically that. Like, how do you go fight and do all those things and also set up communications so that people can. This is before GPS, and I worked with a lot of the kind of pre-GPS type stuff. But all the systems we used, all the training I got, it was outdated. So when I come out of the Marine Corps, I've got all this amazing experience, but applying for jobs in the field that I was part of, all my information was outdated. All my certifications, they meant nothing in the real world because that was stuff they stopped using 10 years ago. So you want to keep stuff up to date. You want to make sure that's relevant to what you're doing today. Like we mentioned, unprofessional email addresses. The easiest way, first name, last name, maybe a birthday. Lengthy resumes. This is one that it depends a lot on what you're doing. If you're applying for government jobs, resumes can be like 15 pages because they want everything. They want exact dates. They want it all. Most of you, with the experience you're going to have at this point, it's going to be a page, no more than a page. Overly creative formats, I've seen some. But I hired people at a dog training place I worked that, they're applying for a job basically cleaning up after dogs, cleaning dog crates. And here's this resume with a big blown up picture of their face and just a tiny little bit of information. This doesn't apply to what we're doing at all here. Maybe if you're trying to get jobs like an actor and you have a face out there, I don't know. But for what we were trying to do, no, that resume got tossed to the side. We're done with it. You can look into what is a typical resume for your position. When I hired here at Brown City, what they pushed big through our school was a resume, yes, but it was also a packet of information. I had information, sample lesson plans that I had done, stuff on my teaching philosophy, my philosophy of discipline, things like that, that whatever they may have needed in that interview, I had it right there for them. And when I left, I told them, said, hey, here, this is for you guys. Gave them a copy of it. If they try to give it back, thank you. I have many copies. You go ahead and hold on to that. If nothing else, for that type of job, if they wondered like, oh, geez, we don't know how good is he at writing lessons, there it is. There's the information for them. So it will depend a lot on what you're going for. The job application, you've got online forms, paper, and then stuff that's done through email. Through the schools, a lot of the coaching positions and stuff. The extent of an application is sending an email to Mr. Kohler, superintendent, saying, my name is this. It is my intention to, apply for a job doing this. and that is taken as a professional statement of what I want to do. But your typical resumes, they're either going to be online or paper. And now it's turning more and more to online, which I hate. It's not personal anymore. Used to be, you could go out and get a paper resume, and you fill it out, nice writing, show that you can be professional, put on nice clothes, all that, walk into the place of business, introduce yourself, shake a hand them the resume, and now they're going to remember you. You can do things to set yourself apart. When everybody else is showing up there in jeans and looking like a scrub, you can put on a nice shirt, nice pair of pants, shake their hand, look them in the eye, introduce yourself. And now when they go through resumes, they're going to remember, oh, this guy or girl showed up and acted professional and all that. They're already what we're looking for. They're going to ask for personal information, name, contact details, usually name, address, phone number, email, employment history. They ask about the job, what your responsibilities were, and how long you worked there for. They're looking to see, is this somebody that lasts about a month at every job and mysteriously they have to go find a new job? That might tell them that either you can't hold a job or you're just taking whatever and doing whatever. That you have no loyalty, but you don't stick with anything. Education, different schools, degrees. Degrees count, certifications count as well. And they'll typically ask for references. Use contacts that can verify you, your work ethic, things that are going to have to do with work. Don't put your girlfriend down on there who's going to say, oh, he's so nice. Don't put dad down on there and say, oh, my daughter's just the greatest kid. No, it's got to be something that applies to what you're doing. Use some of us teachers. I can tell an employer, like, hey, Steve, he's always worked hard in my class. I've seen his growth. He's great at these things. He is a natural leader. And that's going to mean a lot to them. But one of your buddies just being like, oh, yeah, he's so cool, you should hire him. That's not going to do you any good. Tailoring applications to the job description. Really analyze that job description. Find keywords in there and use them. A lot of the stuff online now, it is a software program that looks at it first. They're looking for certain keywords in your application. Certain things they're going to toss it out. Certain things that they're going to hold on to it and tell people to get a better look at this person. Adjust the resume to reflect those keywords and that experience. If they mention leadership, leader, management, anything along those lines, make your resume and your job application really show your ability to be a leader, your ability to manage. Use that word in there. Speak my leadership experience, so that those keywords are there. Some tips, be honest, don't exaggerate. I know we want to make things sound important, sound amazing, and we're going to tell you to do that, but don't exaggerate. If I, as a teacher, as far as discipline goes, I control my classroom. I can write students off, contact parents if there's issues. But that's it. I don't want to put down that I, control discipline throughout the school. I don't. That's Mr. McClintock's job. And then they're going to start asking about specific things to that I'm not going to have answers for. I'm not going to make myself look worse. Follow directions. Complete all the required fields and documents. A lot of stuff online. They're going to ask for proof of things. Send us your high school diploma. Better send it in, or they're just not going to even look at you. There's the ones that are going to ask you how much you want to get paid, your desired income, your desired compensation. You better put something in there. Even if you don't put a number when you talk about this, something along the lines of we can discuss, or negotiable, or will discuss, so they know you're at least reading and looking at everything. Use professional language, maintain a professional tone. I know we've talked about AI and stuff in here, and this is kind of where people are leaning with some AI and where it can be helpful. You can take your resume, a job description, and ask, hey, can you help make this sound more professional? And there are tools out there now that absolutely do that. I use Grammarly. I use it on my homework. I use it on emails. I use it on everything. And I can tell it to help me correct things towards a more professional tone, a laid back tone, a happier tone. If I am extremely mad at a student and I've got to send an email to their parents, I could have it make sure that, like, hey, I'm not crossing any lines, I'm not showing too much anger or resentment or anything like that here. So as far as that stuff goes, I want to add a section to this course on just that, so we can look at how can you appropriately, properly use those tools for help, but you can use them. Following up, a week or two after applying, follow up with the company. If you say you applied for a job working for me, and you bring your application in today, you shake my hand, you look me in the eye, you do all that, you make me remember you, maybe we have a short conversation. In a week or two, you either come in or you call. It says email with something online, maybe that's your only choice. But ideally, you're going to walk in there or you're going to call and you're going to shake my hand again and be like, hey, Mr. Sharp, remember we talked about this job and blah, 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 and this is what we did. Like, hey, I was thinking about you again. I want to make sure I'm still very interested. I really feel that my experience leading at this company and, even my experience working with Mrs. Hayward at the high school on the yearbook staff and whatever your skills are. Now we just had another conversation. I remember your face. I know you're taking this very serious. You really want this job. You jump yourself up to the top of the line. Preparing for an interview, this is very important. Research the company and what it's like, what it's all about, what they do. Even before interviewing here, I interviewed with Mr. Hagee, Mr. Hale, and Mr. Kohler. I knew how many students were in Brown City. I had a good idea that they didn't use specific science programs. There's companies, Savas and Pearson and all these different companies that run education programs. I knew they didn't use these things. I knew as much as I could about the company. You want to know everything you can. I've tried really hard to get, after you get on the Marine Corps, to get a job with General Dynamics. They're a contractor for the government. They're in California. I'm here. It didn't work out. But if I were to interview with them, I can use my past experience with the company, using their gear and things like that overseas. I'm going to learn all I can about the culture there, the fact that they hire military, and these are things that I can use in that interview to show my seriousness, to show that I'm an intelligent person who's already learning about the company. Practice. I know it seems cheesy, but have a friend randomly quiz you, randomly asking you questions. That was my intention with this week's assignment on what are your best three qualities. Because they're going to ask you that in an interview. What are your best three qualities? Or what's your best quality? Or what can you bring to our company? And I want you to have good answers that are honest. And then have questions for the interviewers. My interview here, when everything was said and done, and they asked me, do you have any questions for us? I remember specifically, I asked them all, I said, why did you work here? There's all these districts around. I knew Brown City didn't pay as high as, big cities. So I asked them all, I said, what is so great about Brown City that you all work here, especially with most of you being from this area? Why didn't you go other places? And that's how I learned about the family environment here. That's how I learned about how many spouses and family members and all that work within the district. Some final tips. There are resume builders out there. Canva, resume.com, Indeed. It's kind of like social media for job, not just job seeking, but skill seeking. I might not be out there specifically looking for things, but I have LinkedIn. That's what I'm thinking of. LinkedIn is another good one. I have stuff on LinkedIn. Practice interviews. And then The very last one, networking. Use things like LinkedIn. Get to know people. I talk about, I've got a family member that is exceptionally successful in life. And I think 99% of his success, he knows how to network. He knows how to talk to people. He knows how to be a good human being. So use all these things, combine all these things, and you should be pretty successful. I'll start adding things to the course over the next several days. So hopefully you can get a head start on the week if you choose to.